What's up, y'all, and welcome back. Today we're going to be covering some fights, talking about some tussles. But we're not just talking about any old fights. We're talking about some of the fastest, strongest, most athletic people in the world fighting everyday, average people, Joe Schmoes. Today we are covering times that athletes have fought fans. Now, I want you to imagine you're just out enjoying the game, eating your ballpark frank, drinking a little sody pop, and out of nowhere, a professional athlete runs into the stands and just starts wailing on you. That has got to be one of the scariest things imaginable. But as we'll get into, most of the fans involved in these fights were not just eating their glizzies and drinking their soda pop. No. Most of them were being real nasty people. And I just get a warm, tingly feeling whenever I see some insanely rude or ignorant person actually facing repercussions. Ooh, it's the best. And not all of these stories are like that, but some are, and they're great. And really quick, before we get into it, I just want to say thanks to all of you guys, all of my subscribers, old and new. It's just been really cool to see all of you guys enjoying the videos and all the support. So I just wanted to say really and truly, guys, thank you. And I also want to say thanks to my boy Jumpsuit Pablo and any of y'all that may have came over from his channel. I really do appreciate it. But enough of me rambling, let's jump into athletes fighting fans. So our first incident involves this guy. This is former Texas Rangers pitcher Frank Fransisco. And as you can see, Frank is just a normal, level-headed guy. But after an Oakland fan named Craig Bueno threw a few insults at Frank, Frank decided to throw an insult back. And by insult, I mean a folding chair. That's right, Frank launched a chair full force at Craig's face. And I know what you're thinking, an MLB pitcher, he probably nailed that guy. You would be wrong. The chair that he threw completely missed. Well, it missed Craig. It, however, did not miss Craig's wife, Jennifer Bueno. It actually hit her square in the face, breaking her nose. Jennifer Bueno? More like Jennifer No Bueno. But this obviously caused mayhem. Half of the Rangers squad tries to storm the stands, and the fans were losing their minds, rightfully so. I mean, imagine you're at a game, and a player for the other team just goes full John Cena and starts smashing people with folding chairs. That is insane. But Frank was held in the stadium jail until the game was over, and then he was eventually taken into the police station and booked for felony assault. Which, I didn't know that some stadiums have, like, their own jail cells. Like, imagine being locked up in a holding cell full of Eagles fans. That, my friend, is hell. But Frank ended up being sentenced to 30 days in jail, and he was suspended for the rest of the season. But I think we all really know the real loser in all of this was Craig. Because although he didn't get hit with the chair, he was sentenced to a lifetime of hearing his wife bring up the fact that he got her nose broken by an MLB pitcher. So after all of this happens, the Buenos obviously end up suing Frank. But just one day before the case starts, they end up settling out of court for an undisclosed amount of money and a public apology. And you just know, they were probably ready to settle this thing months ago. But Jennifer was like, I am not settling anything until he apologizes. And I'm sure even after he says sorry, she's like, well, it's a little late for that, don't you think? Now, this next one is a little different. We're playing a Uno reverse card this round. Because during a 2002 game between the Royals and the White Sox, two fans stormed the field and attacked Royals first base coach Tom Gamboa. And even though this looks like two 12-year-old boys, it is not. It was actually father-son duo William Legui Jr. and his 15-year-old son, Willie III, which is so incredibly insane. Like, what's up with this family? If you're storming the field in the middle of a game to attack a first base coach, that's your father-son bonding? Like, what are your Christmases like? If I was in that family, I would be preparing for Thanksgiving like it's fucking D-Day. That is insane. And you've got to love the absolute swarm of players that come over. Literally a tidal wave of professional athletes coming to kick your ass. Two of the skinniest guys that I have ever seen going up against prime steroid era MLB players. Why you would ever do this, I do not know. But luckily for us, we do know why they did it. This is what they had to say after a reporter asked them why.
As for Gamboa's attackers, as they were led into the police car, they answered the question, why? Why did you do what you did?
He flicked us off. He got what he deserved.
That's all it took? He flipped you off? And while I was looking up stuff for this story, I came across this article that dug up some pictures from the Sun's MySpace, and let me just tell you, you do not want to have a run-in with these guys. And I mean, a picture really does say 1,000 words. From this picture, I get Maverick Menthol 100s. I can hear Papa Roach playing in the background. These are the kind of guys that wake up to Buck Cherry's Crazy Bitch for an alarm clock. I guarantee you, if you went to this guy's MySpace page back in the day, it was not gonna load because he had some animated background with green flaming skulls, and he had games that you could play on his MySpace, and there were, 11 ICP songs trying to load at the same time. Fucking train wreck. And they did all of this because the coach flipped them off. Look at these guys. These are the kind of guys that flip the camera off in every picture that they've ever taken. But anyways, after this, they were both put on probation, which I'm willing to bet they didn't complete. And the first base coach, Tom Gamboa, got out of there with mostly cuts and bruises, but he did suffer some hearing loss in his right ear because of the attack. And now we're on to probably the best known brawl between athletes and fans, Malice at the Palace. So in the final minute of a 2004 game between the Pacers and the Pistons, Ron Artest, aka Meta World Peace, fouled power forward for the Pistons, Ben Wallace. And the Pacers were up 15 points with a minute to play, so Wallace was obviously a little pissed off at this pointless foul. And this led to a shoving match and both teams getting in each other's faces. So instead of getting wrapped up in the fight that he just caused, Ron Artest goes and lays down on the scorer's table to try to chill out a little bit, which is honestly hilarious. There's nothing funnier than him getting everybody riled up and then just walking away and watching everybody else deal with what he just caused. But this zen state that he was in wouldn't last long, because out of nowhere, a fan named John Green launches a full beer and hits Ron Artest right in the face. This guy was a shooter. This throw could not have been better. So obviously Ron Artest jumps up so fast to go destroy this guy. But Ronnie got a little mixed up because the guy that he ran into the stands and started beating on was not John Green. So I just want you to imagine being that dude. You're just hanging back, watching the players scuffle, and out of the corner of your eye, you happen to catch 6'7" Ron Artest charging at you, ready to hit you with a stone cold stunner, and you have done absolutely nothing to cause this. And at that point, you gotta just treat it like a grizzly attack, You get on the ground, fetal position, play dead, and you hope he doesn't kill you. But once Ron is in the stands fighting this guy, all hell breaks loose. Another fan throws a beer right in Ron Artest's face, so his teammate Steven Jackson runs into the stands and starts wailing on that guy. And before you know it, both teams are in the stands, either fighting spectators or trying to make sure that these fans don't get killed and breaking people up. And it turns out, with all of this going on, there are no security guards and 3 police officers in the entire stadium to try to control 20,000 angry fans.
Where's the security at? There was no police. I didn't see a policeman in the entire building. I didn't see any security. There was nobody there to really stop this.
So with no one to keep things under wraps, fans just start storming the court. And one guy, Charlie Hadid, walks onto the court and tries to square up to fight Ron Artest. Now, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, if you couldn't already tell. And I don't want to judge anybody or make any assumptions. But how fucking stupid do you have to be to walk onto a basketball court and square up with Ron Artest after he just got done beating up a few other people like 30 seconds ago? What is going through your head? Luckily for that guy though, Ron Artest slipped on a puddle of beer while he was throwing his punch, so he wasn't just completely destroyed. And at this point, people are throwing chairs into the crowd of people. People are throwing beer bottles at the players. It's starting to turn into a riot, so the Pacers gotta go. And on the way out, people are dumping beer on them, dumping popcorn on them, trying to follow them through the tunnel into the locker room. It's a madhouse. But after all of this, Ron Artest got suspended for an entire season, 86 games, which is equivalent to about $5 million in salary lost. And John Green, the guy who started all of this, was sentenced to 30 days in jail and 2 years probation. And the absolute genius that stormed the court just got banned from Pistons home games. But this led to the NBA making a bunch of rule changes. They imposed more severe penalties if players get off the bench during an altercation. They beefed up security at all NBA games, and they also limited alcohol sales at games. But the people in our last story did the exact opposite of that. Closing the video out, we have the infamous 10-cent beer night. And this story is going to be a little different from the rest. I've got to give you the full backstory because the entire thing is so incredibly insane. So 10-cent beer night happened at a Cleveland Indians game against the Rangers in 1974. And before I was researching some of these stories for this video, I had no idea how unhinged baseball fans were. Like 70% of the stories I found of like players fighting fans were all baseball related. So we have insane fans plus 10-cent beer. What could go wrong? So in 1974, the Cleveland Indians sucked. They had record low attendance, like a couple thousand people a game. So to combat this, they decided they were gonna do 10-cent beer night. And that shit worked. But now, instead of just having your normal 2,000 baseball fans, you've got 25,000 people showing up ready to get trashed like it's a damn ICP concert. And for some reason, a lot of those people brought fireworks with them. I don't know. It was the 70s. Fuck it. Bring your explosives to the ball game. But before too long, the first incident of the night happened. A lady ran onto the field and flashed the crowd because she was hammered. And this is in the second inning. And she started a trend because in the fourth inning, a guy streaked onto the field and slid into second base, getting dirt in all kinds of places that you don't want dirt. And in the fifth inning, a father and son ran onto the field and mooned the crowd. It was also around the fifth inning that they decided to just pull the beer trucks around and start filling people's cups up straight from the truck. I mean, they've got to meet demand. These people need their beer. There was, however, a 6 beer limit. Not 6 beers for the whole game. Are you crazy? No, 6 beers per transaction. So people would go grab their 6 beers, slam them as fast as they could, and just immediately go get 6 more. And these are not Coronitas. No, these are full 12-ounce beers. But after dealing with 25,000 wasted idiots for 5 innings, the people who were running the beer truck got fed up and they just left, leaving a truck literally full of beer unattended. So now we've gone from 10-cent beer night to free beer night. And now people are throwing hot dogs and beers onto the field and at the players because, I mean, who cares? We've got a truck full of this shit. And it's also around this time that the drunk crowd remembers, oh yeah, we've got fireworks. So fans start throwing fireworks at Rangers players, in the bullpen and in the dugout. And at this point in the game, everybody is hammered. There are no rules. It's fucking Woodstock 99 out there. I mean, the outfield is filled with streakers, and people are trying to tear the outfield walls down. And now is when things start to get crazy. In the 9th inning, a drunk guy ran up to a Rangers player and tried to steal his hat. So the rest of the Rangers team grabs their baseball bats and runs out there to defend their teammate. And this caused a sea of drunk fans to storm the field trying to attack the Rangers. And instead of hot dogs and beer, at this point they're somehow armed with knives and chains, and they fashioned clubs by destroying the stadium seats. So the Indians have to grab their bats and run out there to fight off their own fans and try to protect the Rangers. All of this really happened. They're having to beat people with bats. One player got hit in the head by a steel chair. An umpire got smacked in the face by one of the makeshift clubs. There was also a news reporter that was trying to interview these drunken fans, and he got punched in the face twice. But the game eventually got called off because somebody stole all the bases off the field. But soon enough, the SWAT team showed up and they had to use tear gas to break all of this up. And I really like to imagine the next day, Indians management gets together and the guy that came up with the idea for 10-cent beer night is 25,000 fans? I say we do 10-cent Tuesday. But once it was all said and done, there were a total of 19 streakers, there were countless injuries, 7 people were hospitalized, and 9 people went to jail. And I shit you not, a month later, they had another 10-cent beer night. But at this one, they had a 2-beer limit and 200 police officers. So that one didn't turn into a riot. But that's going to do it for this one, guys. If you made it this far and you enjoyed it, like the video, and if you're not already subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And as always, I really do appreciate all the love and support. It really does mean a lot, so thank you again. But until next time, guys, peace.